he's the great I am. I am whoever God says I am. In him I'll stay, he's the master plan. I say, won't you hold to his unchanging hand? They might not like it, but I don't care. I'ma preach, speak the gospel to
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Naja. If you are new here, I just want to say welcome. If you are returning, I want to say thank you for coming back. Now guys, this is going to be a quick video. This is something that the Lord pointed out to me during my study time a few days ago actually. And I was like, wow, you know what? This is so profound. And it amazes me how we can look at certain things in the Word of God and it makes such perfect sense in reference to exactly what we're currently dealing with in our world, the challenges and the we wrestle, of course, we know we wrestle not against flesh and blood. That being said, all of this stuff that is happening right now, the Word of God has the answer. I mean, and it just amazes me how the Word makes so much more sense for the times that we are living in. So, in my Bible, the study Bible that I use, it is the Women's Study Bible by Thomas Nelson. There's a section that talks about conscience. When you think about your conscience, you don't really think about the importance of understanding how the conscience really determines or helps us understand right from wrong. It makes perfect sense the way this has broken it down and what I will read to you. And it really makes perfect sense, especially when you even think about how people truly can't see or understand the things of the Spirit. For example, the video that I posted just recently in regards to talking about swarm. You know, anytime you start talking about something that is heavily respected or kind of adopted by the world, you will get a huge response from the world. And you'll get ridiculed, you'll get persecution, you'll get all type of comments that you may not normally get just from giving a prophetic word that they typically wouldn't even look at, right? But it helps you understand why there is such a huge divide and why there's so many people that may comment on the same video that think totally different than the way someone else may think. So before I go deeper into this, let me just read this to you, okay? Conscience is a universal, innate, God-given capacity to distinguish between right and wrong. It has two functions: to urge an individual to do what is perceived to be right, and subsequently to commend or condemn, depending on whether the individual did what was perceived as right. A person who has a good or pure conscience consistently and genuinely acts in conformity with an inner set of godly standards. Okay, so I'm going to stop there before I continue. As it says, a person who has good and pure conscience, they will consistently and genuinely act in conformity. Their actions will be conformed to those pure and good thoughts and that pure and right way of thinking, right? Or what we perceive to be right because it is a godly standard. Conscience can be distorted, however. This is where we pay attention, okay? Because conscience can be distorted. While this inner set of standards will be accurate if it is based on biblical truth, the conscience will be unreliable if faulty standards have been consistently presented to it as being true. So keep in mind, these are an inner set of standards. They are standards that are within you that can be molded and shifted based on whether or not it has been fed or presented falsehood or truth. The old saying, "Let your conscience be your guide," will only be true if the individual's conscience has been infused with godly principles. So it's not wise for us to use that term, "let your conscience be your guide," in everyone's situation when you have no clue what has been fed to that person's conscience. Has it been faulty information, or has it been truth? Has it been godly standards that's been fed to their conscience? Let's keep going. Thus, Christian parents have the important responsibility of communicating accurate standards of right and wrong to their children. Now, it is the parent's responsibility to instill what is right and wrong into the children. Why is that? Because a child is too immature to have received or be fed enough to make the choice themselves, because your conscience is built based on what it has received, whether it's been godly principles or whether it's been faulty principles. So when a child grows up, none of those things have been fed to them, to their conscience, until the parent feeds their conscience, right? So if the parent is feeding faulty things to that child's conscience, then they're going to deem that to be right. But if the parent is feeding the child godly principles, they're going to deem that as being right. Conscience can also be disabled, okay? For example, it can become insensitive and collusive if the person consistently acts contrary to its standards. Let me read that again. It can become insensitive and collusive if the person consistently acts contrary to its standards. So even though the standards that has been presented to them are there, but they are acting consistently contrary and going against what those standards are, it can be disabled. Okay? Even more seriously, the conscience can become seared and of no value through deliberately choosing to believe the lies of deceiving spirits rather than God's truth. So two things come to mind. First and foremost, this is a huge issue that's currently happening, where people are, as the Word of God said, and this is in 1 Timothy 4:2, people in the end days will turn from the faith and follow deceiving spirits and doctrine of demons. And so when they do that, their conscience becomes seared. What is the meaning of seared? So here are a few things to break down seared, okay? By means of the hypocrisy of liars, seared in their own conscience, as with a branding iron. Branding a person with a red-hot iron which sears the flesh and deadens or numbs the nerves. After this, the person no longer feels obvious impulses. Cauterized, which destroys the spiritual nerve endings. So what that does is, as I have said before, it causes the person to be spiritually blinded, having no discernment, and not understanding the things of God. So again, as it says, more seriously, the conscience can become seared and of no value. It's like not even having a conscience, because you completely have no idea what's right and wrong at that point. Your ability to be able to even discern right from wrong is gone the moment you open yourself to deceiving spirits rather than the truth of God. So this is what's happening in our society right now, why so many people are falling into darkness. This is what is happening right now in the communities where parents don't see anything wrong with letting drag queens entertain their children, because their conscience is seared because of the deceiving spirits they have decided to follow and listen to. And keep in mind, these parents, this is a bloodline issue for them to be at that point. It's probably because they needed deliverance themselves and couldn't get it. They may have had faulty standards that were taught to them growing up, and it passes generation to generation until there is no conscience for certain families. There is no standard for certain families. And this really, really hit home for me to hear and understand. This makes perfect sense why so many people, no matter how much you explain certain things to them, no matter how much you try to minister to people who are spiritually blind, they won't be able to comprehend or discern the things of the Spirit. They won't. Their sin has ruined that for them. It also says here, whose souls are branded with the marks of sin, who carry about with them the perpetual consciousness of sin. So yeah. So guys, this is a part of the reason why we must educate ourselves as people who are a part of the body, who understand what's right and wrong. We understand how we should be living, and we are understanding our position to help others. So a part of us understanding how to properly help others is to continually educate ourselves on how best to understand what other people are actually dealing with. I hope that makes sense. So in order for us to properly minister to people, we have to properly educate ourselves on what those people are dealing with. So it's not just a matter of saying, oh, they need deliverance, okay? Or, oh, they're sinners and they don't know any better. But understanding it from this perspective, for me at least, we understand that whenever someone is doing something, saying something, not understanding something that's happening, we may see the wickedness and the darkness that's in it and attached to it. Just like we understand movies and music and the things that we listen to and watch are spiritually dangerous. We understand those things. But the more that we educate ourselves on why they don't, the better we can witness to try and bring some understanding to the people who don't. And they still may not, okay? Because those scales have to be removed from their eyes. And that's where our intercession comes in as well. So guys, I just wanted to, every time I say something, it's going to be quick. I looked at this as being like a 5-10 minute video. But I just wanted to bring this to you guys because I thought it was just very important in reference to what we're dealing with right now, and understanding why people don't understand what's right. You know, what is factually right and what is factually wrong, or what's biblically right or biblically wrong. And it has a lot to do with what I just read. Their standards, their conscience, the things that they feed their spirit. So, yeah, that's going to do it for me, guys. I love you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.
When he cracked the sky, you gon'